Hi guys, in this video we're going to look into adding a infinite white background. We're going to look at lights and shadows as well. Um, I'm going to start off by making a plane. So this is going to be my floor for my animation. Now, it doesn't matter how big this is really. What this is going to be is going to be a shadow receiver. So if you've got really long shadows, you might have to make it just a bit bigger, but the actual size is just going to blend into the background. So once I've got that, I'm going to go up to my hypershade up here, and I'm going to look for a shader called Use Background. And then what I can do is I can drag that shader onto this plane here, and it looks like it vanishes, but it's still there. Okay, so it's still there, we've just applied it on. You can also right click and assign the material to the selection and do it that way as well. If I hit render now, it is going to look a bit like this. Okay, and we're just in the wrong renderer there. I'm just going to change that to my software and render again. It's going to look like this. So I can see my object in the foreground, and then my background is black. So how do we change that color? If we go to view, select camera, and look at the attribute editor there, and scroll down to the environment, we can see that color there. So we could maybe choose a more neutral color, such as a sort of a grey sort of blue there. Okay, great. So now when I render, I get that. So I've got an infinite background, but I've not got any shadows at the moment. So let's set up a really basic 3-point lighting setup. So if we go to create lights, and let's create just directional lights, will probably be really easy to make this 3-point lighting setup using these. So if I press 7, I should be able to see what this sees. So you can see it's dark ground that side there. So I'm going to have my main light coming in like that. If I duplicate that, and I have the other light, sort of, so this is my key light is then the first one, and this is going to be my fill light here, so I'm going to point it upwards, and from a different angle as well. So the job of this one is to brighten up the shadows. So I'm going to take that intensity down to like 0.3 so that it's still dark, but it's just brightening up those shadows a little bit. And then lastly, if I duplicate the main one again, and this time add the backlight in. Okay, let's give this a little bit of a tint as well. Go into my attribute editor, have a look at the color of this one. Let's make it look kind of cool. Okay. So now there's my backlight there. You can see it down that edge, so I can play around with that backlight until it's got what I want it to do. I just want it to be picking out the edge, really. I don't want much more than that. And then I can hit render. Okay, so I've got my sort of setup there. Now let's turn shadows on. So let's find that first light. Let's go to here. Let's tick shadows on. I'm going to use depth map shadows. I am going to let's increase. So if you increase the resolution to make it crisper, and you can increase the filter size to blur it more. So let's try 512 and that. Okay, let's have a little look from another angle just to see where that shadow is falling. So the shadow is coming in, but it's not looking too good there at the moment, so I might possibly want to up that to 1024. Let's have another render. A little bit crisper there. Okay. Let's try 2048. And again, render that. Okay, that looks quite nice now. I can leave that there. I'm just going to lower my floor slightly so that it's not perfectly intersecting. One last little test render there. Okay, great. So now I have set up an infinite white background. I have added a really quick 3-point lighting setup using those directional lights, so directional lights emitting from all angles there. And then I've got a fairly sort of soft shadow on that. Again, I could play around with where my key light is, which will play around with the shadows a little bit more as well, until I get sort of a render quality that I am happy with. Cool. So there we go. That's how we make a infinite white background. So you can see this, it just lands on the floor, but we don't actually see where that plane ends. And then we've got a really quick 3-point lighting setup on that. Okay, right, thank you for your time.